I had always known about her. After all, they were together for 11 years. She had been part of his entire youth. Her presence was too strong to ignore. His dad once accidentally called me by her name. His mom once mistook her favorite dish as mine. These little things piled up, making it impossible not to think about her. Everyone believed they'd eventually get married. Even if they broke up, people assumed they'd find their way back to each other someday. And I was the villain who stood in between. Honestly, even I believed it at one point. Before we got together, he'd been open about that part of his past. I suppose I was in a love-brain phase thinking it was admirable how deeply he had once loved someone. Loyalty is a virtue, right? As long as it was over, what did it matter? These days, who doesn't have a past? I even felt a bit grateful to her. She had trained him well. He was so attentive and caring, definitely leagues above any of my exes. I had no right to complain. But later, I realized I had underestimated how much 11 years could shape a person. On his phone, just typing the character Z would auto-suggest her nickname. Some of his rarely used account passwords were still related to her, and some habits seemed tailor-made for someone else. For instance, he'd sometimes remind the waiter, "No cilantro," but neither of us disliked cilantro. Turns out, she did. Another time, while we were driving, I was humming along to a song. A random track came on. He said, "Isn't this your favorite? Why'd you stop singing?" I replied, "It's not. I don't even know this song." Oh, maybe I remembered wrong. I was sure it was her favorite song. It was niche, and I knew she loved that artist. To be fair, none of this was big enough to break up over. But it felt like a pebble in your shoe once you noticed it. The longer you walked, the more it hurt. It felt like I was wearing someone else's old shoes. They fit, but they weren't truly mine. What kept us together was that he tried. He never dismissed my concerns. Instead, he sincerely apologized and made changes. He switched from his longtime Samsung to an iPhone just so we could airdrop things. He archived all his old photos to an external hard drive he never used, and deleted the rest. He even gave up his Spotify account, along with all the playlists, to start fresh with me. As time went on, the traces of her visibly faded. I no longer felt like a replacement. I became sure that I was his real choice. That's when I decided to marry him. So when I received a message from her on Instagram, asking to meet, I was torn. Part of me was curious, what kind of person was she? What did she want to say? But another part thought, isn't this asking for trouble? After all this effort to leave her shadow behind, was I now inviting it back? But curiosity won. I said yes. We met in a quiet little cafe tucked in an alley. "Sorry for asking you out like this," she said first. I nodded, fingers tightening around my coffee cup to hide my nerves. "After you just started dating, he completely cut contact with me," she explained. "This was the only way I could reach out." She was slimmer than I'd imagined, prettier in person. Not aggressive at all, quite the opposite. Her tone was gentle, even friendly. Surprisingly, it wasn't awkward. There was no tension, no cat in this. In fact, we had graduated from the same university, and chatting felt almost like catching up with a friendly alum. If not for our complicated situation, I thought we might have even been friends. "I asked you here to give you this," she said, taking out a small velvet box and gently placing it in front of me. I opened it, a bit puzzled. Inside was a jade bracelet, smooth and warm in color, with an antique charm. "This was given to me by his grandmother before she passed," she explained. "She told me to wear it on my wedding day to him because it was what she wore on hers." She paused, fingers resting on the box like she was letting go of a memory. "I think it belongs to you now, but I'll admit," she added with a soft smile, "this meeting wasn't entirely selfless. His grandma was like family to me. She loved him dearly, and worried he was too kind, too trusting. She made me promise to look after him, make sure no one hurt him. Now that I've met you, so kind, so gentle, I feel at peace. I think she would be too." Her smile was warm, but her eyes held something more. In that moment, I realized this meeting was her way of saying goodbye to the past. I had expected a clash, a confrontation. I never imagined it would turn into a handover of blessings. "I was the one who asked you out. I insist on paying," she said at the end, gently pushing in her chair. "Hey, wishing you both happiness." Then she paused, turned back, and gave me a sincere smile. "You too," I replied, from the bottom of my heart. She smiled again like someone who had finally set down a long-carried burden. "Well, then I guess we'll leave it to fate." That night after the wedding, I had a dream. His grandmother sat gently at the edge of the bed, smiling as she handed the jade bracelet to a young woman. "Be happy, you two," she said. In the dream, it was me receiving the bracelet. "Grandma, what about her?" I asked softly. "She has her happiness too. You're both good girls," she said, her smile even warmer. I woke up with damp eyes, but for the first time, my heart felt completely calm. A few days ago, I saw one of her Instagram stories. She was beaming, a ring on her finger. The caption read, "A new chapter. If I could, I'd tell her, Grandma gave you her blessing. To dot please. Be happy."